So
episode 35, baby.
35.
Look
Nice.
at us go. Wow.
All right, episode 35.
Outstanding.
Luisa Marion,
Welcome.
you're here.
Hi.
Pedalboard's here.
So many,
We got Frog and Toad
Let's
on
go.
the pod.
so many rocks.
So many
So
rocks.
So
many
many
rocks
pet
as well.
rocks are on set.
Our onset.
On set today. We're joined by 9 rocks and probably more in a bag somewhere.
Probably.
Like
Probably.
What's in this bag?
tins of rocks are in this room right now.
You could start to upsell and get like bigger
Yeah.
and bigger rocks every time.
It's just a boulder by the end.
You
One is $3, but if you want the grand prize,
You should do live engraving for
20
like an
pounds.
extra $10. You just like put
That's
someone's
cool, dude.
initials on the back. Get you a little engraver.
Anyone sponsor me for engravers now? You know.
Yeah, there
You
you
could probably
go.
get one on
Rock
TikTok Shop for
tumblers.
$20.
Probably.
I wonder if you could do like a laser engraving.
Oh,
Like, it's just
lasers.
your-
Whoa, I wasn't
it's
even thinking about
nothing, It's
lasers.
like your face on the back.
Lasers. That's awesome.
Your merch,
I do
Find
like
my
that. Yeah,
rock.
it's just
your whole merch package is just going to be ridiculous. Like
just rocks.
yeah, rocks, laser engraving.
You're gonna have to quit music. It's gonna be just
go
rocks
full
at that
on
point.
pet rocks.
Just go to like pop-up shops.
Instead of
and
OnlyFans,
stuff.
it's only rocks.
Only
That's
rocks.
good.
Yep.
Only my rocks. This is what you could call it.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. I thought so.
$1 million ideas are being generated
Wow.
right now.
That was
Trademark.
Like 3 in a row.
Potentially $1 billion ideas.
Depends on how
Um,
many rocks.
So, Luisa, how are you doing? How is life?
I am.
We're on a podcast.
Yeah, I am so good. I've never been on a podcast.
Is this
So,
number one?
Yeah, I've
Nice.
never been on a
We got a
podcast
few
before.
number ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess then we have to go through let's go through the motions of the podcast. Where are you from? What do you do?
So
Give
I'm
us your
from
whole-
Wisconsin.
Mhm.
What part of Wisconsin?
Central Wisconsin. It's a place called Marshfield. It's like, I don't know if you know Madison.
Mhm. I got a friend
I'm
up
like
there.
2 hours north of Madison.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm from Wisconsin, and we had talked about it earlier. I try not to have an accent, so if it slips out during this podcast, let's just forget about it.
We can edit it
That's
out.
all right.
Yeah, edit it out.
We'll replace it with an AI.
Or with your voice. One of y'all's voices.
Yeah, we'll get an AI that takes the accent out of it.
Right.
That's perfect.
Give you an Australian accent instead.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, I moved to Tennessee like 7.5 years ago. I went to college at MTSU for classical violin, actually.
cool.
Yeah, for classical violin performance and then just also teaching. So, yeah, being in Nashville was such a huge culture shift.
Yeah,
I bet.
I'm sure. Going from the Midwest sort of personality type and vibe to the Southern, it's an interesting switch.
Yeah, it's a total switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know the classical was in the background.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like all I did actually for, let's see, I've been playing for 20 years. That's insane.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How
so I've
old are
been-
you now?
I'm 25.
Okay.
So yeah, I started when I was 5.
Wow.
And let's see, yeah, classical. I need help with math. I dropped out of school at 4th grade, so like,
Yeah,
no, I'm just
right.
kidding.
Yeah.
But no, for real though.
That was
so
a joke before.
before, yeah, you're gonna
That's
have to
deep
edit
lore,
a lot
actually.
of this.
Yeah, joke.
Podcast starts now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I played classical until I graduated in 2021. So
Wow.
yeah, like that's
Which is like what? Like, would you join symphonies and stuff? Like what?
no, exactly right.
Beethoven?
yeah, yeah.
Like Beethoven and stuff?
We can play some if you would like.
Bach, perhaps?
So yeah, being in college for that was basically just what orchestra are you going to join, you know? Or like I played a lot of wedding gigs actually,
Yeah.
which
Sure.
is nice having the background because I can be flexible in that. Sometimes I will play with like a local symphony or something in town or whatever because I can read music, which is really nice too. But yeah, there's the classical world is insane. Like the level of talent is, I don't know, the bar's super high.
Yeah.
So like these players will just hop in and sight read like a a 40-minute symphony and top to bottom and just like nail it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna try to do that. And it worked out well because being in Nashville, you get hit up to fiddle. So I just kind of started learning some fiddle tunes from some fiddle books. I actually got asked to go on a Celtic tour in 2021.
That's really cool. Did
Yeah.
you do
Who
it?
was it? Because Dan just did a Celtic.
Actually, it's 2020. Is this group called Christmas with the Celts?
Dan Ainspan, one of our best friends, just did that. He just did a month-long tour with them.
Nuh-uh.
Coincidentally. Yeah, he did drums for them.
Dan did? Oh, nice.
Dan Ainspan. Yeah, he's got the Nashville Drummers podcast.
So this is the first year I've ever. Well, nope. This is the first year in 4 years that I haven't actually gone on that tour.
Because
Oh, really?
they just got this like young 16-year-old to, I think, fill your part.
Oh.
Yeah. I heard great things about her. She seems really cool.
Cool.
That's cool. I didn't know you did that.
Nice. Yeah. So that was my spot for like the past 4 years.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
It was 2020 actually, and I was a senior in college and had only been playing classical music, and just like you learn a concerto and then you play in symphony, you play in chamber, you play in like trio and quartet, and that's like all I did.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's 2020, so COVID time, so a bunch of people didn't want to tour or couldn't tour, and me being 21 years old, I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that.
for
Like,
sure.
put me in, coach,
Right.
And it was a really, really strange first touring environment because we all were wearing masks. We had to get our
Yeah.
temperature taken at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Half capacity shows. So we played 2 shows a night actually.
Oh, wow.
And
You just split it in half.
yeah. And then,
Interesting.
yeah, it was super strange because everyone, you couldn't tell if they were pissed
Liking
or
it or
not,
not.
or,
Yeah.
yawning or super
Yeah.
happies. And so that was my first experience with fiddle, actually, was
Yeah.
Celtic fiddle. So
Yeah.
completely different from like what I'm stepping into now. I play with Sam Barber full time. So just Americana country music. He's awesome. But yeah, the Celtic fiddle thing was my first experience being like, okay, we're going to step away from this or from classical and see how it goes. And I loved it because forever I actually wanted to teach.
Okay. Cool.
I went to school for music ed for a semester, and then I was like, well, no, I actually don't want to teach in a school system and like 30 kids with instruments at one time. That
It's
sounds
chaos.
Yeah, that sounds.
Out of tune
sure.
violins at the same time cannot be a
What's the worst?
pleasant sound.
You knew where the orchestra room was in high school.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
You were well aware.
exactly.
guess
Or
middle school.
in 4th grade,
Right. Yeah.
like those orchestra rooms.
Did you have like the thing where they would like advertise the violin? Like they'd come to your class and be like, hey, in like 3rd grade, they'd be like, hey, we're doing violin lessons now. Here's the catalog. Like we had that at my school. I don't know
I
if
think
y'all
we had it too.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. They showed like, here's what you can get out of learning violin. They like,
Yep.
and then they would try to get people to sign up and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it was like I remember vividly. It was 3rd grade when violin became like available. It's like
just became-
yeah. They just they
to a
released.
room near you.
We just released violin. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Was it through family that you had that played or?
So for school, at that point, I'd already been playing since
Okay.
I started
you
when I
said
was
you played when you were
5.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you guys heard of the Suzuki method at all?
I feel like
I've heard of it,
Heard of it,
but
yeah.
I'm too dumb to remember.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
So the Suzuki method is where you start super young, and a lot of kids play by ear, and that's just how you start. So you have a CD and you just listen to the CD like constantly.
Right.
So I would actually have it playing while I slept. We'd have it in
Whoa.
the kitchen. We'd have it in
Right.
the car. And so we just had these like classical
Wow.
pieces constantly playing because then your brain soaks it up. They call it mother tongue. It's like if you hear it, you can speak it.
Yeah, sure.
100%.
So that's,
Those melodies start to ingrain themselves in your brain.
yeah. And so I started with the Suzuki method and I actually have 3 older siblings who all play as well. They all play
Okay.
violin. They were all Suzuki method.
No.
Really?
Yeah. So I also got it that way too. I just
Yeah.
like grew up hearing it. And I don't know, this sounds so cheesy, but I actually don't know life without like a violin
Yeah, that's cool.
in my hands. And sometimes I'll like reverse size just to see like how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because I used to teach until last year, actually. Like I taught
Okay.
full time, basically, just privately. But
Mhm.
switch sides to see how hard it is. It's really hard. And I still think it's hard on the side.
It's like brushing your teeth with your left hand.
Yeah, I'm like, I just need a reminder of like what these people are going through right now.
Yeah, what it feels like to not know how to play. Yeah.
That's hard as a teacher too. Like, because you get to this point where you're so comfortable with the instrument that you have. You're like, you just play it.
You just
play
do it.
Stop thinking about it. Just play it. But like you do have to be like, oh right, like
this
okay,
is
so you're
really
struggling
hard.
with this part and
You ever move the snare to the other side just to see what
Yeah,
happens?
that's a very Nathan Sletner move.
Yeah.
He's a fiend.
Fun fact, my dad and brothers, they play drums, they play kit. And my dad, when he was 5, set up the kit wrong. So he plays with it backwards.
Oh, really?
So in
But
high
he's
school...
not lefty.
No, he's not. He plays open, I guess.
Yeah.
But
he hits the hi-hat with his other hand.
That's
Yeah.
open. That's like Carter Buford.
Or maybe
Dave
it's not.
Andrews.
I actually have no idea, but I know that it's set up wrong.
We know this much.
Yeah.
I love you, Dad. He did set it up wrong as a kid, but I was super interested in drums when I was in high school. So I actually played kit for a little bit.
Let's go.
For orchestra. And like I played it at like a competition and everything too. And but when I'd go home, it would be on the opposite side.
Right,
You know?
yeah,
So
right.
I'd be like, I still to this day, like if I go to my parents' house, it's like I'll play this way, and then if I hop up on someone else's kid, I'll play the other. So like genuinely, I do that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Not too
that's
well,
hard, though.
but it is
That's hard to do.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing.
So I think you kind of answered this question already, but was there ever a time when you were sort of thinking about going like the symphony route where you're like, I'm going to work my way up through these levels and then I'm going to go to a city and be in their symphony like full time? Or was that something that was always kind of take it or leave it?
Yeah, I think the main goal was actually just teaching. And like if a symphony happens, cool.
Yeah.
My goal wasn't like Nashville Symphony or anything.
Yeah.
I actually, fun fact, I danced for like 16 years and I taught dance when I was in college. And at MTSU, while I was in high school, I'd come to Tennessee to take classes like at the Nashville Ballet or at MTSU.
Wow.
Just to be like, ooh, I wonder what it's like to, be in this dance program or whatever. And I actually wanted to double major in music and dance. But the performances, just clashed. And it would have been insane and really hard to do. And
the schedule would have been nuts.
yeah, and just like ballet is super hard on your body. And like the older I got too, I was just like, oh, I have these knee injuries, I have these hip injuries. And I'm like, I guess I'll just do music. I don't know why. I didn't really know what I wanted to do or why, but I've always just kind of like, I don't know, I'm a very like feelings type of person. So I prefer not to think much. I'm just
go
like,
with the flow.
Yeah, I'm like, let's just like, something tells me to do this and I don't know why, so I'm going to do it. Even if I'm like super scared, I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. Just say yes.
That's a great philosophy.
I think it's huge.
Is that what led you into stepping out as a solo artist and putting stuff out? Just kind of following that feeling?
Yeah, for sure. I used to not consider myself a singer for the longest time until maybe like a year or two ago.
Wow.
Yeah, because I wasn't like trained or anything, and I wasn't in choir, but I just like loved it. And people seemed to love my voice too, so they'd have me on these sessions, and I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. And then I finally started advertising as like vocalist, and that was like a big step internally.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, I guess I sing now. But now it's like my favorite thing to do.
Cool.
And like the violin, because my mom put me in it as like a 5-year-old, all of us, we weren't allowed to quit. So like it's just kind of always been there. It's always been in my life, but I didn't choose it, so I'm not necessarily attached to it at all.
Interesting.
Actually. So like it's just this thing that I can play, and that
Interesting. So you don't have like you're not like too precious about the violin as an instrument.
No, I'm not. I mean, it's super cool. I do appreciate like classical violinists, and I appreciate fiddlers. I think what they do is incredible. But for me, I'm like, I don't I prefer to just like play however I feel on it, which isn't necessarily like a style. And I have that Celtic background. I have the classical background, and now I'm like going into more of this. Yeah, I don't know, Americana slash folky. Folky's good.
Because you do have a really unique approach to it, like with the live looping stuff. But then also, we were listening to The Kite before you showed up. And yeah, you'll do like finger picky kind of stuff on it that I don't think I've ever seen any violinist or fiddleist play it the way you do. Like, are there people that you're trying to mimic when you do that? Or is it just you playing around on it, or? I just
love how it sounds. I love how pizzicato sounds. And I don't know, Andrew Bird is super cool. Do you know him?
Yeah.
He's like one of my biggest inspirations in that sense. But it wasn't something where I was like trying to mimic him or anything.
Right.
A lot of times that type of stuff just comes out in the playing. It's not like I'm gonna recreate this song. It's just like you start making something and then those things come out. And I was just looking down because I was trying to remember your latest single, Anatomy, had a lot of the Celtic like vibe.
Really?
To me it did. I don't know, but I'm not super well versed in the like really in violin playing in general. So a lot of things probably sound like similar to me that you have more of a discerning ear towards if you've been in it. But to me, it felt like it did have a lot of those vibes. Like, I'm trying to think of, the Oh Hellos. Have you ever heard of them?
Mm-mm.
They're so good. They have a lot of little like Celtic motifs.
Do they
in
really?
Yeah, they do.
I'm trying to think. I only know like their hit songs.
Yeah, the Ole Ole, that song.
Yeah.
That's kind of Celtic.
Yeah. I can't hear it.
Anything that's got like a little triplet thing going on and is like major key, I'm just like, that sounds like the homeland, you know? Like my ancestors can hear it through me.
It.
Yeah.
You're calling me.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that makes me feel like I'm on my way to Ireland, you know, is Celtic to me, so I can be wrong.
I do get that a lot just because my voice does sound more Celtic. It's like the higher, airier type of vocal. So like I've been asked to do Celtic sessions before I even actually like played. Yeah. Like toured with the Celtic group actually. Like when I was in college, they were like, yeah, you would fit this perfect. Will you come do it? And I'll be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm super white, so of course I'm Irish.
Yeah.
You know? Like
we've all got a little bit.
We all got a little bit of
Irish.
Some of us have a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very true. But there is that thing about like, even though you're not intending to have it make an impact on your music, like just the fact that you listen to, like I bet if I listen to more Celtic stuff, like whether I wanted it to or not, like it would come in my drumming for sure.
Yeah, you'd be like,
it's just like
it's almost a bagpipe, I think.
Well, it's similar to like what was the method, the teaching method?
The Suzuki method.
It's almost similar to that, like just by listening to it.
Yeah, just absorbing.
You just
do you guys listen to Sufjan Stevens or Nick Drake?
I know Sufjan Stevens, but I've never really listened to his stuff. And then Nick Drake, I've listened to some Nick Drake stuff.
Okay, cool.
Is that what are those two like big influences for you?
Yeah, I grew up like listening to Sufjan Stevens as like a 10-year-old because I got the iPod Nano.
Oh yeah.
And so that meant that my siblings downloaded their entire playlist onto it. So I had I don't know, probably things I shouldn't have been listening to. Like Snoop Dogg was on there. We had, let's see what else, the Fugees, right? Lauryn Hill.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill.
Yeah,
Fugees.
and then
Fugees.
I don't know.
Cut.
Cut that. People are really aggressive about Lauryn Hill. You cannot say anything negative or mess anything up. So we'll cut that.
She's awesome.
Love Lauryn Hill.
But just out of nowhere, just
to clear back in when you say that.
Okay. So the iPod Nano. I grew up listening to Sufjan because that's what my siblings loved.
Around.
So a lot of his music. I've been told he's like the indie guy. And before I even knew what indie was, they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're so indie." I was like, "I am." And they're like, "Yeah, your favorite artist is Sufjan." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, interesting.
Super underground.
Yeah. But he does a lot of like finger picking on guitar, and that's kind of like what I like to do on guitar in my songs is just like mainly just finger picking. And then I got a hold of an octave mandolin actually.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, so it's just like a tenor guitar as well. I
Yeah.
recently just got one of those, and then I just transferred over with violin. Obviously, they're all tuned the same. So
Is the octave mandolin, is that, are the strings still doubled up, but they're just a full octave? That's cool.
Yeah.
I bet that sounds so cool.
yeah,
Is that on
it's sick.
your newest song?
It is.
It
Yep,
is?
on
Okay, I'm gonna
Anatomy.
listen for
it's
it.
that.
Yeah.
Same with one of my songs, Sweet Rain and Cigarettes, that has the octave mandolin on it as well.
That's so cool.
Thanks. Yeah,
What-
it's I love how it sounds, and it's way easier than playing guitar personally.
Yeah.
like just,
Yeah, it's probably a little more natural for you for like what you're used to playing.
yeah.
That always blows my mind. Like how you gotta have tiny fingers to do the mandolin
Oh
stuff.
yeah, they're so close together.
I
I mean, you
even,
can
like,
do it without.
ukulele, but like it's so hard for me to figure that out.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like even on guitar too, like my fingers are always getting in the way.
Crammed in. With
Yeah, I mean, same. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Circling back though, what was I
Yeah.
saying? My favorite inspirations though.
Oh yeah.
Sufjan and Nick Drake though. So I've been listening to both of those artists just ever since I was a kid, and I feel like those two really come out in my music for sure. Just with like all the finger picking stuff. I don't know, it just feels like home when I hear that.
Yeah. There's a producer that you work with all the time.
Charlie Van
There's one
Kirk.
other. Is there a John?
John Art.
Yeah. Do you work with him a lot?
He's also a family friend. Actually.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
We grew up in the same town, in the same church, actually. Yeah. Do you know John?
I know of him. Just
Okay.
like through Instagram, and like I'll see his stuff pop
Yeah,
up from time to time.
He's so talented.
He seems amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just as an overall musician, which I guess you need to be that as a producer. But like his ability on the piano and composing and all that
Yeah,
seems really cool.
He's brilliant. We worked on The Kite together, actually.
Oh no way, he's
So
that.
he produced the one that I released with Noah Flourish, like the studio
Yeah,
record.
that's what we were listening to before you showed
Okay,
up,
yeah,
yeah.
that one. So him and I worked on that. And then we worked on a song of mine called Your Friend.
Okay.
And then we worked on a song, The Sweet Rain and Cigarettes, together.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was super cool.
Are y'all just recording that at his place, or do you have a studio that you like to go to?
So fun
Downtown?
fact, a lot of my stuff is GarageBand.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
what I like just
Elaborate.
yeah. So maybe not anymore, but on like my first album / EP, so I played everything and I wrote everything, and it was just super low budget, and a lot of the songs were just like some garage band sessions I just made when I was like 19 or 20.
Whoa.
And then I had just like a couple of people like go in and, fix it up a little bit. But yeah, so a lot of that
cool.
is garage band. And then I got into Logic like last year, finally.
It's so similar though.
And-
like it's almost the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
it's
It's
just got
GarageBand on
more-
steroids. It's great.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. And I'm learning how to actually like engineer and produce myself now. But I mean, the stuff that's released, I also just did. And so
So
like
cool.
some people, can't tell. So John actually was kind of that like transition person in my life of let's get you not using GarageBand. let's teach you how to use Logic and learn how to fade things,
The
Let's-
clip doesn't just end and make a pop sound.
no,
It's-
I sent my Your Friend session to him, and he was just like, "Oh my God, what is this mess?" And I was like, "I don't know."
You need those people though.
yeah.
Yeah. So like even in the past year, I've grown and learned so much. Because I actually last year got the Sam Barber gig. I got like a random text at like 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday from their band leader / drummer, and he was just like, hey, do you want to tour like basically the whole year with Sam Barber? And I was like thinking this text is not real.
Totally.
I was like, I was like, there's no way this is real. So I actually called John and was like, John, what should I do this? And he was like, yeah. And then I called my buddy Noah, actually, with the kite. I was like, Noah, do I do this? And he was like, yeah. So I actually, I hit them up and I was like, yeah, I would love to. I'm super interested. And they were like, cool, we're, auditioning a few other people. We'll get back to you. And like 2 weeks passed and I still hadn't heard anything. And I just reached out like, hey, checking in. And they were like, you got it. And I remember I was actually on the treadmill at the gym. I'm like a late night gym gal, especially at the time. Yeah, I was like, like 9:30 p.m. just like, yeah. And I remember just like freaking out because I might have lied. I might have stretched the truth. I said, yep, I'm available for every single date you have because I just wanted to tour. Like that's just been my goal is like tour full time, no matter what it is. And so I was just like, happiness. And then I was like, oh no, I have to figure out what am I going to do with all of my 20 students that I have, my violin students? Yeah. What about all these sessions I have planned? What about, this reoccurring gig that I always do every, Monday night or, and I actually also taught art camp and like, I just played the spoons. I was doing like TikTok and like just any way to get money. I was cleaning at my sister's house. Actually, I was like, literally hustling.
Yeah, just and whatever you could do.
Yeah, so I panic set in, and I was like, okay, let's figure out what I'm gonna do. And John helped me a lot. I'm like so grateful for him. He helped me like chart out some of Sam's songs and coached me emotionally for a while. Cool. He's like, you're gonna be great, because at that point I actually I didn't have much experience fiddling yet either. And so I was just like, okay. They saw my Instagram. I was the kite girl. And they're like, well, if you want the kite, like I'll play the kite stuff, like my style of violin. And that's what they got for a little bit. And then I've been learning from Billy Contreras a little bit. If you know him, he's an incredible fiddler in town. So I've just been learning how to speak the language a little bit more, but while still like doing my own stuff, because I don't know what language I speak. It's just nonsense or whatever. Like it's a mixture, it's an
amalgamation of all of your
all of the backgrounds and whatever. And I'm like, I just like to play pretty.
I resonate with that a lot, though. It's kind of how I play guitar. Like I feel like there's a lot of in the guitar world, and I've never tried to be a Nashville guitar guy because it's just like so many other people are just so far ahead of me. Like I would rather be on the production side of things anyway. But it seems to be kind of there's like a stock standard. Like you need to know how to play all of these licks and all of these songs and be able to nail the solo from like, there's like, the 40 Broadway songs that you have to be able to nail the solo of. And like, I just can't make myself sit down and just like learn that. Like to me, I'm like, I'm going to play what I gravitate towards. And that's my playing style is always going to be just a mixture of those things. And then I'll try to make it fit, but I'm, if you're, I think it's cool, to hear like other players say that, because I think that in Nashville, sometimes you can kind of feel like you have to fit in a certain mold to be able to get work. And
there is a line of work where you do need to do that. Like that's a lot of the studio musicians, and like we've talked about it too. Where there's like there's producers here that like they need to fit this exact sound. Like I'm looking for this sound, man.
Yeah,
and like that's why I got that new snare too. Yeah, because everybody wants this like poofy Nashville snare.
I saw your caption. You're like, I guess I'll like a poofy snare now.
So like you do, if you want to be that person, you can be the person that gets the fucking snare and like purposely tries to fit into the mold. But I think the hot word today is authentic. Everybody wants to be authentic. The way you're gonna do that is lean into the things that you're actually interested in. If you're not interested in sitting in your basement doing the scales all day, Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're not going to fit into the traditional mold, but you're going to find a very unique way to approach your instrument.
Sure.
Finger plucking it. And
You might
doing
get
loops
really
and
you might get really good at something you don't actually like, and then find yourself like, oh, I'm making money doing it, but I don't enjoy it.
But it's a cool way to approach it.
Yeah.
As opposed
just
to
like following exactly what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool too that you found you kind of did almost the best of both worlds, because you did go through school and had the traditional route of it and had teachers telling you how to do the thing, but then you found your own way on it too. You had the yin and the yang. What's going on, everybody? I'm interrupting the podcast because I've finally launched what I've been talking about on this podcast for a very long time, Groove MPL, Groove Music Production Lessons. This website is focused on two main things: how you can use Ableton on stage as playback, and independent music producers in Nashville. How do they do it? How do they get clients? How do they work out the contracts? So every month there's a new course available on the site, and we got courses like Adam Leeds diving into how he has been able to produce for just monster artists here like Starlito, Young Buck, and a bunch of different artists. We got the drummer from Maggie Rose, Timothy Burkhead, showing how he uses Ableton and his SPD pad to control the live show and have it run seamlessly. Austin Cannon, who's breaking down how do the contracts work between you and the artist. These courses really are here because they cover topics that are hard to find, and they're important topics that are necessary to get you from point A to point B. That information in between shouldn't be hard to find, and having it in one central location I think is super important, so I'm very excited to share it with you all. Again, you can sign up at groovempl.com with the discount code GGP for Garden Groove Podcast, and you'll get 50% off your first month. I'm looking forward to meeting you all.
Yeah, I felt like even in college, though, the professors were super kind because they knew that I wasn't trying to answer your question. How many minutes later, they knew I wasn't trying to do the classical.
The symphony.
Orchestral. Yeah. They did know that, and my professor, she would always give me. She called them dessert pieces. So like the romantic pieces, not Mozart or Bach or Beethoven.
Yeah.
And she would make me do those, eating my veggies. She said. But she was like, I know you love your dessert pieces. So she would bring these like new pieces written in like 2016 or pieces written or composed by women. She'd like bring them to me because she knew that I was always going to be down for that. I was like, yeah. Or like, this sounds atonal, or like an atonal piece. Hell yeah. I'm so down for that. Or
a little bit of dissonance, something a little more outside the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I always did more of that type of approach. Or so MTSU doesn't do fiddle or jazz violin or anything like that. But I expressed that I wanted to try jazz violin. So they made up a class for me with the jazz trumpet professor for me to just have like a little 30-minute sessions together. And so I learned like Mixolydian scales. And the circle of fifths.
I love Mixolydian.
And improvising. And
that's cool.
All of that when I was 19.
It's like fun stuff that you may not learn in a typical classical class.
Yeah, and then that Celtic thing coming up when I was 21, then my senior year of college, they were super cool with me, like turning in that like the tour material as my final for that semester. Cool. They were like, okay, just like do a dress rehearsal for us then.
Yeah.
So I played all my Celtic tunes and sang in Gaelic, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I had to learn a piece in Gaelic for this tour.
Wow. So were you singing harmony or lead?
Oh, I was singing lead.
Wow.
So but okay, I say that like I sang all of it. It's just one song, only one song. But still,
that's still like.
So I took a hour-long Zoom lesson on how to sing this song in Old Irish, in Gaelic.
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool.
I showed up super prepared, but I sang that for actually like my final in college though, because they were just like, we know you're stressed out. This is super cool. You're going to go on tour for the first time, all these things. Yeah. what? How did that come up?
I don't remember.
It's really cool though.
Tell
Very
us about art camp
Art camp.
Let's go into art camp.
and Frog and Toad.
Okay, this is why I have notes, because I was like, I don't know where to start. Okay, I guess, well, art camp.
Well, in the songs that you wrote there.
Or that's
like
I was going to say.
how that led to that.
Yeah, because I guess too with the kite and the finger picking style and the loop pedal thing, and John all tying it all in. The kite. I got this little loop pedal off of Facebook Marketplace for like $60, and I didn't touch it for like a year, but then for some reason I just like pulled it out and started messing around with it, and I was like, oh yeah, I love this. This is super fun. And I think maybe like 2 years ago now, I was babysitting this little boy, and because I just needed extra cash. So that's another job that I did, actually. One of the many I had to quit, actually, for the tour I took last year. I was babysitting too. But this little boy, his name's Aaron, and he was super cute. He loved being outside. He would play outside for as long as I would let him or his mom would let him. And he loved bugs. He loved birds. He loved everything. And so one of my favorite things that he would do is he would go, stop. What is that? And so he'd stop me and, stop us. And he'd be like, what is that? And he'd be like, it's a bird. And there would just be a robin. He called them wobbins. He's like, it's a wobbin. But then, so you zoom out, and there's like 50 robins, like in all the neighbors' yard, just like everywhere. But he was just like specifically that one. And then I'd be like, I'd see one like 10 feet ahead, and then he'd do it again. He'd be like, stop.
I love it.
What is that? And I'd be like, that's another robin.
That's another robin.
That's a robin.
Yet another one.
Mm-hmm. So I loved that, though. Or he would stop me and he'd be like, what is that? And we'd hear like the wind chimes, and I'd be like, those are wind chimes. Or for any type of bird, he would do that. He loved butterflies and crane flies. You know those giant mosquito looking things? Yeah. They're not mosquitoes. They're flies. They're crane flies. I learned that from him, but he would catch them. He loved bees. He loved all the things. But I remember just like a really special moment. It was like fall time, so daylight savings was starting, or I don't know. It got dark early.
I can't remember which one was which.
Daylight endings.
Yeah, I can't
beginnings.
Remember. I never know which one is which. I have to ask other people and go, do we gain or lose an hour?
I just wait till the time that I'm sadder.
Yeah.
Yes.
It must be that.
So it was approaching sad season when it was getting a little bit cold, but it was still warm, and it was getting dark around maybe like 5:30 or something, which was unfortunate because I watched him until like 7 every night, and we only liked to play outside. And so I remember the sun was setting, and we were sitting there. The wind was super warm, and he brought me to the driveway. Oh, yeah, we weren't sitting. He brought me to the driveway, and he was like, sit down. So we sat down, and then he was like, lay down. And so we laid down on the driveway. And then he was like, close your eyes. And then we just laid there, and we like listened to the leaves. He was like, he did the thing again. He was like, what is that? And I was like, that's a dog barking. That's a car. That's like the leaves. That's the sound of the leaves. Those are wind chimes. That's whatever. And so me and this 5-year-old just sat on his driveway, just listening to the sounds of the world around us. And it's super cool how kids teach you to slow down. Yeah. Or just to like listen, or like, oh my God, that bird is really cool.
Like, well, everything's brand new to them. So it's like they're discovering something for the first time, or only the second or third time. And you you zoom back in on stuff that in adult life you kind of are like tuned out to.
Yeah. And in my song, The Kite, the main hook is, see life through a child's eyes. Like, to see life through a child's eyes. And that's like, what he showed me. I was like, wow, that is super special. It is brand new. And, the feeling of when you're a kid, everything just feels so cool. Yeah. Like, I don't know. So I eventually went back home, and I remember sitting down with my loop pedal and just starting to play that melody. And have you guys ever seen the movie Soul? before?
Oh, I love
No,
Soul.
I haven't seen it.
It's so good.
It's a newer Pixar, right? Is it Pixar?
Maybe like 4 years old.
I think it's Pixar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
it's Pixar.
last like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you've seen it
It's so
because
good.
it's my room in Empire. I think about
Yeah,
it
is it?
It's your
every
room in
day.
Empire.
It is. I think about it all the time, and there are going to be people who are watching this who are going to laugh because I talk about it so much because I love it.
It's
and
so good though.
So Soul, they go into the zone. You
Yeah.
know the zone?
Yeah.
So for, I guess, people who haven't seen it, it's just like a place where like musicians or actors or
It's like the flow
people-
state.
Yeah.
It is that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They,
it's the flow state.
Because
Where
like
you're
in Soul, like he's playing the piano and like you lose all sense of self and you're
Yeah.
fully engulfed in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they show his soul in the zone. And then
Yeah.
in the zone there's like a bunch of other souls.
Mhm.
in
that
the
you can
zone.
interact with.
Yeah.
That he can interact with.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I think about that movie all the time, and like that's where I feel like I go when I play music or like my own music. But with that one specifically, I started playing the melody, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like immediately in the zone. Like this sounds kind of also cliche, but it was like something was just like something came over
Coming
me, and I
over
was
you.
just like,
Oh.
"Yeah," in whatever world, and it just like felt right for sure, and. Yeah, I don't know. I just like made the loop, and I was like, this is what it feels like to see life through a child's eyes. Like this is how it feels, and this is how it sounds. Like it just felt like, I don't know, magical in a sense. But yeah, so that was how I made the song. That was like the actual inspiration. And then so I mentioned I taught art camp, and I. Look at this. Good thing I have notes. Because I would be forgetting.
That's the most prepared anyone's come in. So
Yeah, that's true.
I
pat yourself
had to
on the
be.
back.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I don't know. So
I don't know where I'm from. I don't know when I was born.
I forgot. I'm just a baby.
Just a
I'm
baby.
just a baby. Okay, so I taught like at this visual arts camp at the place that I taught private violin lessons. And I only got the job just because I can like kind of paint. I can kind of do whatever. I can, I can get away with it, but I'm totally not trained. And I'm around these like art teachers who are like color theory and let's talk about this and that. And I'll be like, so this one's red, it will look really nice right there. And so, like, the reason they have me there, though, was because I bring in, like, the music side, too. So I was like, how can I incorporate music this year? It's, like, my third year teaching at this summer art camp. And the theme that summer was storytelling and character development. So the students were working on drawing characters. And have you guys seen Coraline at all? Okay, cool.
It's been a long time, but
I watched it this October.
Nice.
Hey, that's a good
Also
Halloween
so good.
movie.
It's perfect
It's a
Halloween.
good spooky season.
Yep.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Not the rocks.
Pet Rock went down.
Man down.
Put him back. Man down, man down.
Check out the merch store.
Check out the merch store.
Yeah.
What, you got a link in bio or something on
That'd
your
be
Instagram?
awesome. I should. I like ship these out. That'd be insane. Okay, Coraline.
Coraline, yeah.
My favorite movie ever. So also I was like, how can I incorporate this? But the music in it is incredible. But I was like thinking about character development and storytelling, and I don't know if you know this about Coraline, but there's like tons of Easter eggs in it.
Yeah. I don't know any of them, but I know that there are. There's people that are like really into it.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not.
So like one of them was Mr. Bobinski had I wrote this down because I was like, I'm not going to remember this. Chernobyl liquidator medal on him.
Oh,
So-
interesting.
He he's this Russian dude
Yeah.
or, Soviet Union at that time. And yeah, he has just this small medal on him that I never noticed as a kid. But when I was demonstrating, I was like, when you develop your characters, you can put like the tiniest detail that gives them years of a backstory.
Yeah, totally.
And it might explain why his skin is blue.
Yeah.
The aftermath of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I talked about that, but then I also talked to them about the music. And a lot of the kids hadn't actually seen the movie. And so I had them like listen to the or, the music develops the characters as well. So I had them listen to the soundtrack, and I did these things called synesthesia boards, where I had them first draw like the colors at the top of what they saw when they heard it. And if they had a hard time doing that, I'd have them just write down words of like, what emotion do you feel when you hear this? Or what do you think is going on here? Or some of them were just got it and could draw immediately what they heard. And it was crazy because when we were listening to one of the tracks, I think it's called Fantastic Garden, this one girl who, she had never seen it. She like got all the colors right of like the garden scene in it. And she explained, she was like, yeah, it sounds like a girl walking through like some trees and all of these things. And I was like,
whoa.
I was like, you've never seen this? And she was like, no.
Wow.
And I believe her 100%.
That's so cool.
And
That's crazy.
I was like, well, you just got the scene right. And I was like, isn't that cool how
There
much...
wasn't a correct answer, but that was the
but
correct
that
answer.
was
Somehow.
the correct answer to to the movie. And so I was like, isn't that so cool how music plays a huge role in, character development and story development, and it, she knew what was going on even though she never saw the movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty sick.
Really
That's
cool.
so cool.
So then what I did from there is I had them write their own short stories about their characters they were developing, and I was like, what adventure is your character going to go on? And write about that. And then I will take it and I'll create a soundtrack for it. So I had them come up and read their stories, and then I'd ask them, like, what was your character feeling, and what do you think that sounded like? And then we'd create it with the loop. And then I'd read it over top. So with Frog and Toad, my demonstration was the kite, actually. And
Oh, cool.
yeah.
So you had already
Very
written
cool.
the kite.
I had already secretly written it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
gotcha.
had it prepared, but I was like, it worked so well though for, the kite, because they're literally just learning, or they're trying to fly a kite in this basically. And just the colors too, like when the kite's playing, I see greens and browns and just
Kind of Coraline-y,
kind of, yeah.
coincidentally.
Yeah, I love this stuff. But yeah, so I created the kite over top I created the kite and then I read this over the top to them. I literally sat and read this. So it's like a little soundtrack over top.
And you just let the loop play. That's cool.
Yeah, so that's what I did with the students then
Yeah.
too. I created the loop and then had them read it.
Wow, that's so cool.
So it was their own personal
Yeah.
soundtrack to their characters. And so that was my lesson that I did with them. And yeah, I got super lucky because one of the teachers decided to record me. And that's the audio that I released. It was her
No
video.
way.
Yeah, it's phone audio. Not the one you listened to, because that was the studio version with
right.
Noah. But like the other two versions I have out are literally just iPhone audio.
How cool
Really?
is that?
Like, it's
I know
live.
I saw you had a live one. I listened to that a little bit.
Yeah,
as
so I
well.
have two live versions. So one of them, like the very first one, is just called The Kite. It's just me in the classroom. And at the
Wow.
end, you can hear the kids like talking to me.
Yeah.
And it was so
That's
hilarious
so
though,
cool.
because I didn't know what I was doing was cool. Like, you never
Yeah.
know if something's
Sure.
cool
Yeah, for
until
sure.
people are like, oh, I love that. So fun fact about The Kite actually is it got stolen. So someone, like, it blew up on TikTok. It got
Right.
like 4 million views. It was trending audio for a while.
Whoa.
And I remember seeing someone on my comments being like, oh my God, it's out. She released it. And I was like, no, I didn't. So I look up my name, and someone, I still have no idea who, took a picture from my Instagram and released a profile that said Luisa.
Whoa.
And so
that's terrible.
and so the kite is just the TikTok audio that someone took. It had like 70,000 streams already. And I think it had been up for maybe like, I don't know, I didn't catch it. So maybe like a month, but I was like, whoa, that's not cool. I never thought this would happen. Like someone just taking
Right.
my audio and releasing it. Especially it was like only like a minute long too.
Right.
And so I had to like fight for my copyright.
Did you like lawyer up for that? Or like
I did my best not to because
yeah.
I can't afford a lawyer.
Yeah,
and so I just like called
pricey.
all my friends. I had everyone like report it. I reached out so many times to like Spotify and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all the things. Just reporting them and filed a lot of reports. And I'm not really sure what like the last straw was for it to finally get taken down, but it was taken down last Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a long time. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Like
So-
it was finally taken off a year ago. And then I released my own version and I was like, thank you for the idea, whoever you are that is impersonating me. So
Yeah.
that's when I was like, oh, I can just release TikTok audio? Cool. Or, phone audio.
That's like the worst nightmare.
Yeah,
Right
and
there.
it happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now, I guess it's better if it happens at the beginning of your career. So
Right.
You can prepare for the future.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't happen then.
Everyone was telling me because I was just so upset. And they were like, well, it's just a really shitty compliment. And I was like,
Yeah, sure.
it is. Like,
Yeah.
someone liked it so much that they stole it. So,
Yeah.
I bet I could make money off this.
Yeah.
Is what they,
So freaky,
That's
though.
crazy.
yeah.
I feel that way about putting out. I could put out so much more content if I just like recorded myself. Like whenever I come up with a new idea, if I recorded myself like playing a new idea right as I come up with it, but I always have that thought in the back of my mind where I'm like, it's probably not going to happen. But what if? Like, what if somebody took a riff idea that I came up with that was just like a spur of the moment on the spot thing that I'm trying to use as a piece of content that might turn into something real later.
Right.
And then, I hear a band playing that 2 months down the line and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, shit. Somebody just
Right.
ran off with that.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a
is
scary
real.
thought. Yeah, it is real. It can
Happened.
happen. Clearly. That's crazy.
I talked to some like a copyright professor at MTSU and she shamed me hardcore. And I was like, whoa. She was like, why would you post this without like copywriting it first? And I was like, I didn't know that it was going to be
Well, are you supposed to copyright
everything you
put
post,
on
right?
TikTok?
I guess.
Apparently.
Like register with BMI or
Isn't
I
that
guess that's
crazy?
how you
Every
copyright
single
it.
post.
Yeah.
Every
Cool.
single thing.
Register
Yeah.
riff
just-
number 3
Still
with
haven't been doing that. Yeah. Definitely have not
riff
been doing
idea
that.
37 is,
Cool.
is getting registered with
Right?
Pete's sake.
BMI. Yeah, it'd have hundreds of songs.
Yeah,
Just
right. So freaky.
That's crazy. Well, would you want to do some live looping?
Yeah.
Or play something? Or
Let's do it.
Spoon it up, whatever you want to do.
Spoon it up for context.
Yeah.
There are musical
No, just let them be in
spoons.
the dark about what the spoons are.
There's a brightness in the light I haven't seen in quite a very long time, a very long time. And the colors warm like summers I remember forever ago. I never let go. Sky above and ground below. I'm in love with
Shameless
Just plug.
plugs.
Yeah, give us
Yeah,
some shameless
just
plugs. Where can people
plug your
find
stuff.
you? Where can they listen to your music? See you're hitting the road next month.
Yes.
Going to the UK.
Playing with Sam Barber. Come see us. Go to Sam Barber's Instagram at Sam Barber Music. And then
sense.
you can check out my stuff at Luisa Marion Music. Luisa Marion on all platforms. Check me out on TikTok for the next 10 days or so. Maybe not even that much.
Who
but
knows?
yeah, I have YouTube. You could listen on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, all the things. That's my shameless plug.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have much more. Working on an album. If you feel like donating, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a real plug right there.
That's the real plug. Actually, though, genuinely, I am looking to like start fundraising somehow. I need to talk to people about it because I don't know anything about.
We know a guy. So Connor Gaylor, he does guitar for my goofy electronic-y stuff that I do. And his soon-to-be wife helps people with their GoFundMes.
That would be cool.
And there was a really good FundMe that she worked on with someone here who is an artist that was trying to fund for an album. She wanted to do vinyls and the whole deal.
Yeah, Sam.
And they were able to fundraise with her help, I think $10K.
That'd be awesome.
So, like, there's a right way to do it.
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
that is
So-
actually like exactly what you said is what I'm trying to do. Like
Yeah,
10K for the album, that'd be incredible because that's like my only 2025 resolution is to release an album. No
Let's
more,
go.
no less.
Well,
like it's got to happen.
I can
Yeah.
give you the contact.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I bet you'd be a good help.
So yeah, maybe cut all that. But
No,
that'd be
Yeah.
sick if I actually had like a GoFundMe or something. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's-
Give
huge.
Louisa money. That's the plug.
We'll do it the strobe
kidding.
flash
Yeah,
on the screen.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great.
I need money for my album,
yeah.
and that's a plug.
No, it's great. It takes
So-
money, and like
Yeah.
I have
There's-
Everything costs money.
people want to support you.
I have 2 songs recorded already for it. I went to Maine to my producer Charlie's house, and we were just in the studio for 4 days, and we got 2 songs started, and that's
Cool.
just the goal is to get me back to Maine and just keep recording and doing all the things.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Very cool.
Very cool.
thanks for having me on the pod, guys.
Thanks for coming here.
on the pod.
brightness
Luisa Marion.